What's up, Quirky fam? It's Tom. I'm here today. We're gonna keg some beer. I gotta brew some beer, so that means I gotta get this beer out of here because I need the container. We get a lot of kegging questions here in the store. How to fill a keg? What's the best way to use a keg? I'm gonna show you today a really cool way to fill a keg you might not have seen before. A way that's great to cut down your oxygen, reduce the staling compounds, and make your beer last longer and taste better. This is a Speedel 30-liter fermenter with the spigot attached on the front. I like fermenting this way with the spigot attached to them as opposed to using an auto siphon. It's a lot easier to drain from here. So what I'm going to show you today is a really clever way how to take the beer out of the spigot into the keg without adding extra oxygen along the way, other than a little bit of air is going to come into the top. First thing we're going to do, we're going to sanitize this keg, and then I'm going to blow the sanitizer out backwards. So take the lid off. I've got some sanitizer right here. I'm going to add just about a couple quarts. Obviously this keg is already cleaned. Clean, then sanitize, always. Put the lid back on. Okay, now let's shake this up really good. Make sure that sanitizer touches all the inside. I got a CO2 tank back here. I'm going to turn this on. We are going to start filling this with gas. So we're going to do two things at once. We're going to purge the old stale air that's inside of this, and we're going to sanitize the dip tube all at once. So that's probably enough gas. Got it turned up pretty high here. Now, I have got a short piece of hose with a 3/8 barb flare fitting and a threaded ball lock fitting. Now, typically, if you're going to use this in a draft system, you need a wrench to tighten this. But what I'm doing right now, I can get away with a little hand tightening. And the reason I do this is that it mates really, really well with this hose and cuts down the air that comes through here. So, on our out, let's hook this up. And I got a little bucket here on the side. So all that star sand that I put in there is now being forced up and out of the dip tube because of the CO2. And that is now pushing out a lot of the air that's in here. All right, groovy. Let that go a little bit longer. I have a gas side ball lock fitting and a short piece of hose. I just have a spare piece of vinyl 1/4-inch hose. Shove onto here. And now, probably see what I'm doing. This is going to go on the gas side. So what the purpose of this is that this is to allow pressure to come up and out of that dip tube, and now it's bubbling through the star sand. So as beer goes into the keg, all of the gas, the CO2 and some air in there still, oxygen, is going to come up and out just like an airlock with a fermenter. Okay. Got some star sand. Let's make sure to spray the spigot all the way around there. I sprayed it earlier, but we're going to spray it a little bit more right now. But before we actually hook this up, I got a cup now. Before we hook this up, I'm going to drain off a little bit from here because right now there is a big plug of yeast right at the front here from the fermentation, and I don't want to get that yeast in my keg. So it's a really easy technique. We're just going to waste about a half cup of beer. Take this up like here so that it doesn't pull your sanitizer in. And let's open this guy up. So I'm going to pour until I start to see some clear beer coming out. Right about there. That's enough. There's not a ton of yeast in here, but at least I cleared that little bit of yeast right at the front because I don't want that in my keg. Okay, now this guy, let's wind that over there. Now you can see beer is going to come out of here. It's going to go down the dip tube. We're going down the dip tube, and then the air is coming back up, out into this little bucket so that things are coming in, going out, but no air is coming in, just going right out to the side. There we go. Take more of the little bit of spilling. Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear, but there's already bubbling coming out on the side. And I've got liquid going down and into here. And at this point, I am just going to walk away and find something else to do for 15 or 20 minutes. Obviously, you got to keep an eye on this during this part of the process, but for the most part, one of the nice benefits of this is that you can sort of walk away and let this fill. Now, if you have more beer here than your keg, you're going to overfill and make a little bit of mess. So we can't walk away forever, obviously. But for right now, it's doing its thing. It's going in slowly. If you try this setup and it starts to go really, really slowly, occasionally you can get a teeny little piece of yeast that comes down in your post. Just take your connector off. It's not flowing because it's stopped right there. Go back onto the post, reseat it. That can help to dislodge. And so why do we do it this way? There's lots of different ways of filling your keg. Typically though, most people do is they take this hose, they go all the way to the bottom of the keg, they leave the lid off, and they just fill it and top off. So why am I doing it this way? Because air cannot get inside this keg while I'm doing this. Obviously there's a little bit of air coming in here, it's gonna displace that. So if you're really clever, you can get a second one of these spigots, attach that spigot right here, and actually push in a little bit of blanket of CO2 while you're transferring. When using one of these plastic fermenters, you need to be super careful about the pressure, really low pressure. But that's one trick if you wanted to even go a step further and add CO2 the entire process. But for me, this is kind of that in-between between being a little bit too much work and the results that I want. And as you can see from here, it's already dropped almost about an inch on the side there. And it's probably got, 2 to 3 quarts in here already. So it takes a little bit longer this way, but it's very safe and it's gonna cut down on the air, make this beer last a lot longer, it tastes fresher. Super simple technique. All you need is a couple of extra ball lock connectors, some hoses, and a little bit of bucket. So this is one of my favorite ways to fill a corny keg, especially if you're coming off of a fermenter like this with a spigot. If you have something a little fancier, you've probably got a cool method. If you have a bucket without a spigot, you can try doing this with an auto siphon, but personally I found that to be too difficult. And generally if I have to use an auto siphon, I just go straight to the bottom of the keg, keep the lid on as much as I can, and then sometimes I'll even consider putting a little piece of tin foil or something over the top here to make sure nothing's coming in as you're going. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Let us know how you keg your beer. Thanks all for watching. You all have a great day.